So I was very, very, very fortunate growing up. I had a lot of great, strong male role models, especially my dad, my hero, awesome man. But he was as strong as an ox, physically, mentally, emotionally. And he was a wonderful man. And like all of us, and I put myself in that same, not the same bracket, I wouldn't even think about it, but I put myself in the same disposition that my greatest strength was my greatest weakness. And the reality is, the blocker to developing a construction business and growing things is usually you. And it certainly was me. And I think it was my father as well, which in the long run can be a blessing. Because the self-reliance, the ambition, the self-belief, the self-motivation, self-alignment, the self-discipline, the standards and expectation that it takes to get something off the ground, often with zero money, it is monumental. It's a monumental struggle to get it off. And when you get a couple of employees, then that brings out a need for different skill sets. And a dogmatic, self-disciplined, self-motivated guy may not be able to arch into those new skill sets. They're often softer in nature, they're less direct, certainly are nowadays. And to build the business, one needs systems. And that may be a step too far as well. I often meet guys who get older and then all of a sudden they start to downscale and they're on the tools again by themselves, less stressful. I meet other builders who are sitting around going to the golf club and have managed to do it. I have managed to put systems in, put responsibilities in, and have managed to change. They managed to change philosophies, they managed to, or maybe they already had these secondary skill sets, but they've managed to utilize delegation. And that's an easy thing to say, you do this, but when you've got to let go of the power and you've got to let go of the certainty that you bring to it, and you've got to let go of the information, and you've got to let go of the relationships. And self-employed people tend to be very magnetic, very powerful, very self-believing. And to let go of that and to put that into somebody else and let that trust grow is very de-skilling, very de-skilling. It's nearly asking somebody to peel back a layer of themselves and to let go. Fundamentally, there was a French psychoanalyst called Jacques Lacan, and this dude was some man. He wrote some brilliant stuff, brilliant thinker. But one of the big things that he said is the disposition that you need for leadership in the therapeutic session is non-leadership, non-ego. So leadership becomes none. You create a void that other people can come into and you let them grow. And that's philosophically fine if you're a wealthy psychoanalyst living in Paris. Not saying that that's not without its own burdens, I'm sure it is, but if you're on the breadline and you need to make things happen, you need cash flow, that takes some power. And for my own journey, I wasn't good in it, and I have to say I wasn't good at it. I wasn't good with letting go. I became better, and it's not coincidental that at the same time that I began to get better and empower people, trust people, give people control, was the same time that I started to read philosophical books, psychoanalytic books, cognitive books. I was always reading self-development books, where always was. I was utterly shocked when I went into Easton's one day to even realise, I was about the age of 15, to even realise that there was such a topic, a section, a genre of personal development, positive thinking, because there wasn't, while it may have been present when I was growing up, it was never talked about, not formally or not openly. So that took me the journey. I was dogmatic, I was feisty, I was direct, I was, if I needed to be, confrontational. Everybody has to defend their own patch, no matter who and where you are in life. I'd certainly endorse my children to do that as well. But most of the time it doesn't need to be done. Most of the time we have set up defensive situations we got to act out upon. And there's other ways to, and other skill sets, and other perceptions and streams that we can look at. So I am in sheer amazement at people that can grow a business, not because they can grow a business, but because they can develop new skill sets, become a more effective leader, manager. Not quite sure if those two things are the same thing or not, usually are. And they have followers, they have people who believe in them, they manage to create cultures, they have people who are reliant upon them, and that's a huge one, to know that what you generate feeds other people, indirectly and directly. So utterly amazed, but it takes time, it often takes growth, whether that's therapeutic, academic, institutionalization growth, on-site skills, the law of the jungle skills, which also is prevalent, we can't say it isn't. So I'm in utter amazement, and I think that that's one of the big first stages of growth. Organizational change, elevation is, I think, one of the big first hurdles is not systems, but the leadership to put the systems in, the perceptions and the trust in that. So, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing not to grow it either. I once met a politician, lovely fella, and he was telling me the economy was going to get on great and life was going to change. And I just said, why? Why do you think I'm going to be employing more people? He was actually inferring that it was nearly my job to employ more people. And I was just there. No. I said, I know my base. I know where I am. I know what I can contain. I know what I can do. I know what I'm highly efficient at. And this is when I was still a contractor. And I had no desire to grow it. I'm a big believer in lean organizations. Just why? Got to be honest with you, because I've seen recessions, seen them in the States, seen them in England, seen too many of them in Ireland, and we all have. And I recoil at the thought of overextended risk and pressure. But that is my own personal biases. And I know that people will disagree, and that's all the good stuff. That's all the good stuff too. So I'm in utter amazement that people grow businesses on any size, shape or form, not because of what they do, it's how they do it and the thought patterns and the change that is needed, the self-development, self-evolution, the self-change in perception. That's why I'm utterly amazed. Enjoy Easter, folks.